Welcome to this section of the playlist. So in this video, I will teach you how to make this form work, where users will be able to fill the form and have that data get sent to the database and saved. So I want you to go to the article.html page and scroll down to where we have the form. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to give this form a method of post because we are trying to send this data to the backend. So we are trying to post this data, so we'll give it a method of post. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to add CSRF token below the form tag. This is a security measure for Django that we must add to every single form in our project. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to give each input tag a name attribute. So for the first input tag, we give it a name attribute of name, and for the second, we give it a name attribute of body. Now these input tags serve as a unique identifier for us to be able to grab whatever the user has inputted into these fields in the backend. Now you are going to see how this works shortly. So anytime the user fills the form, we are going to write some code in the backend that grabs that data. So the next thing we need to do is we need to import the comment model, and then after importing the comments model, since we are trying to send this data as a post request, what we now simply need to write in our views.py file is we need to write some code to check if the request that is coming in is a post request. So what we are going to now do is we are going to go to our views.py file, and then we are going to write some code that checks if it is a post request. So what we are simply going to say is if request.method is equal to post, that is, if the request that is coming in is a post request, then execute the following code below. So remember, we gave each input tag a name attribute. So we're now going to use this name attributes to grab whatever the person has inputted into those fields. We start by grabbing whatever the person has inputted into the name input field, and we assign that to a variable of name, and we'll say request.post, and then we grab the name attribute. And then for the body, we say request.post, and then we grab the body attribute. Now the next thing we need to do is we now need to write code that actually saves this data to the database. So we need to take note of the fields that we're using in the models.py file. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to copy this line of code and paste it at the top. Now you are going to see why we're pasting it at the top. So we're going to create a variable and name it new comment, and we're going to equate that to the comment model because we're trying to save the new comment to the database. So what we're simply going to pass in is we're first going to pass in the name of this user, the person that typed this post. So we're going to assign that to the name variable, and then for the product for the post name, we're going to assign that to get post. We're assigning get post because it needs a blog post instance, so that is why we're assigning it to get post. Now the next thing we need to do is we now need to assign the body of this comment. So we're going to equate body to the body variable. Now we now need to save this instance by saying new comment.save. So basically what we have done now is we have written code to collect this data from the front end and save it in the backend. So the next thing we now want to do is we now need to actually test our code to see how well it works. So we head to the browser, refresh, and then after refreshing, the next thing that we do is we now need to test our code to see if it's working. So after refreshing, I am going to try to fill this form right now and see how well it works. So I want you to first check the admin dashboard to see that there is presently no new posts. So when we go to the front end and they will now fill this form, I'm just going to pass in a random name like Billie Eilish, and then after doing that, I just type in some random things in the body section. So once we save that, we can see the page has reloaded. So what we now need to do is we now need to check the admin dashboard. Now once we refresh, you are going to see there is a new entry. Now once we click it, we can see it's the exact data that we entered in the front end that is being saved to the back end. So we can see our code is working perfectly well. And in next video, I am going to teach you how to use the Django messages library to flash messages around this area anytime the user has submitted the form. So the message being flashed is basically going to say thank you for commenting. Your comment has been saved. So thank you for watching this video, guys. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to make use of the Django messages library.